Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be working with the Spellbinders March 2019 card kit. Here I'm going to give you a quick look at what was included. So I have gone ahead and die cut out some pieces to create this cactus as well as some succulents. I'm going to show you quickly here how I put them together. So I've got my base layer, which is the solid, and then the stripes that I'm just adding a little bit of some art glitter glue to the back of. I'm going to place that down on top here. And then I'll do the same thing, layering the smaller portion of the cactus as well as the little flower that will go on top. So here for this succulent, I want to add some dimension. So I'm going to use my bloom tool, and I'm just going to run that in circular motions on top of my die cut, and that's going to give me a sort of nice cupped look, and then I can layer all of these together. I'm working on top of my embossing mat that I use in my Big Shot machine. It helps, you don't have to have this, but it does help to sort of speed things along if you have a nice cushiony surface. So this mat, or if you have like a Heidi Swapp or Ranger craft mat, would work really well. And then here I'm just going to add a dot of my art glitter glue, and I will layer these largest to smallest. I've trimmed out some of the little, I'm not sure what to call them, I guess quills or points for the cactus. And I'm just going to glue 3 of those down here. And then here I'll attach the smaller portion as well as the flower on top. And then for my flower pots, I've used some of the mirror cardstock, some gold from one of the previous cards kits, and then the copper that was included in this one. And I also had some cork in my stash, so I cut a few out of that as well. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and use that cork. Now when I cut this, there is a line to emboss to create sort of that geometric pattern, and it cut a little bit further through the cork than it did through the cardstock. So I just added a little piece of Scor-Tape there just to sort of make that a little bit sturdier. And then here on the back, I'm going to go ahead and add some Scor-Tape, and that's what I'll use to eventually attach this down to my card. Okay, so let's jump in here to card number 1. I have got some MFT whipped cream cardstock, and I'm going to stamp out the little stake to put in the pot, as well as the sentiment that reads, "Home is wherever I'm with you." And I'm using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink for that. So I've cut those apart, and then I did go ahead and trim down that sentiment into a square, and here I'm going to fussy cut around that stake. I've gone ahead and placed that down inside the second cactus that I created. And I should tell you the colors I'm using. I've got from Paper Tray Ink, Pale Peony, Lilac Grace, Autumn Rose, Simply Chartreuse, Smoky Shadow, and Americana. And from MFT, I'm using Jelly Bean Green and Whipped Cream. So I've grabbed this piece of window pattern paper. I'm going to trim that down here to 4 by 5 1/4. I'll add some ATG to the back of it and place that down on top of my card base. And next I'll start laying out my scene. So I decided I wanted to have that sentiment stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to use that same Smoky Shadow cardstock. That's also what I used for the pot on the second cactus. And I'll go ahead and just add about maybe a 1/16 of an inch border around this, just to help it stand out a little bit. I'm going to peel away the backing on my Scor-Tape and place down my cactus. And then here I'm going to pop up my sentiment using some foam tape. And I'll go ahead and place that down in the center. For the inside, I'm stamping on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to use the sentiment "Let's Stick Together," again using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I'm going to add a few of these little needles just sort of floating around the sentiment here. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and place it on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. So card number 2 is really simple. I've again placed one of these cactuses together. This time I've used the gold pot on the bottom. I'm going to peel away my Scor-Tape from the back and place that down on the front of my card base. Then I've cut apart one of the ticket ephemeras. This one reads, "Always Be Happy." I'm going to pop that up with some foam tape. And I'll go ahead and place that sort of tilted off to the side there. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to add the sentiment, a girl should be two things, who and what she wants. I just added some of the double-sided tape behind that, and I'll go ahead and place that on the center here. Again, I'll add some double-sided tape to the back of that, peel away the backing, and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 2. For card number 3, I've grabbed this purple chevron pattern paper. I'm going to trim that down to 4 by 5 1/4. Then I've also grabbed some of the ephemera off to the side there. I'll add some double-sided tape to the back of my panel. And place that down on top of my card base. Then for my base layer of my ephemera here, I'm going to use one of the Project Life cards. I'll add a little more double-sided tape behind that. Place that down just slightly off center. And then I'm going to add a few foam dots to the back of this piece. And I'll place that down here right on top of the ticket. I'm going to curl the edges of that ticket, but I did want to make sure it was nice and secure, so I'm going to add just a little bit of art glitter glue in the center, so that way I can still curl up all the edges that are sticking out. So here for the inside, I'm going to use another piece of the ephemera. This reads, "Relax and enjoy today." It's a beautiful pink color that matches that pink from the ticket on the front. I've added some double-sided tape behind that, and I'll place that down here on top of my panel. I'll go ahead and add some tape to the back of my panel, peel away the backing, and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 3. So here for card number 4, I've cut out a bunch of those little tiny butterflies, and there I'm showing you I just took my score tool and went right down the center of each of them and then folded them to get a little bit of dimension under those wings. I'm using several different colors, sort of in a purple shade, and I'm using whipped cream from MFT for the white, and then I've got Autumn Rose, Lilac Grace, and Smoky Shadow from Paper Tray Ink. Of course, I'm also using that purple butterfly that came with the stickers in the card kit. I've trimmed down this pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4, place that down here on top of my card base. And here I'm using my pokey tool to just sort of sketch out a line that I want to keep the butterflies in. I didn't want to cover the whole card, but I wanted to sort of keep them in a swirl that they were moving in. So I've sped this up quite a bit, but I'm going from darkest to lightest from the bottom corner to the top corner. And I'll go ahead and just add a little dot of glue right down the center where I folded those butterflies, and I'm just going to go ahead and place each down. And then I'm using that pokey tool just to make sure it's down nice and tight on the front of my card base. So I wanted to add a sentiment on the front, but I didn't want to take away from the butterflies. So these stickers were perfect for this. I went ahead and used one of the lighter colors, and this just gives just a little bit of a shade, but I went with the sentiment Hello Gorgeous. And then here on the inside, I'm again using a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I've got this leftover piece of that wood grain pattern paper. I'm going to go ahead and center the sentiment You're the Best right on that. I'll go ahead and add some double-sided tape to the back of that, and then I'll place that down at the top of the panel. I'll add some double-sided tape to the back of my panel, peel away the backing, and then place that on the inside of my card base. Finally, I wanted to bring in a little of that purple on the inside of the card. So I've grabbed 3 of my leftover butterflies, and I'm just going to place those around the sentiment, again adding a little dot of my art glitter glue behind each one of them. And that will complete card number 4. So after all those butterflies, I am going to switch to another simple card. I've grabbed these 3 different buildings from the ephemera pack, and I'm going to add some foam dots behind each of those. I do eventually run out here on these, so I'm going to go and grab some of the sticky thumb dots from my stash to finish everything up. I'm going to go ahead and place this pink building in the center, and then I will add the others on either side of it, just trying my best to keep that bottom of each building lined up. And then off to the side there, you'll see I've gone ahead and stamped and fussy cut one more of those stakes. So I'm going to add one of my sticky thumb dots off to the side. So I want to have that sort of pointing to a window. And I'm going to add a little bit of art glitter glue on the back of that just for the portion that's going to be on top of the building. Then I'll peel away the backing and place that down. I'll go ahead and add some of that double-sided tape to the back of my panel. And then I'll place that here on the top of my card base. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to stamp out that sentiment, home is wherever I'm with you. And then I had a little bit of leftover from that window pattern paper that I had used on the first card. So I've added some double-sided tape behind that, and I'm going to place that right along the bottom of my panel. The colors match with those buildings perfectly. I'll go ahead, trim off that excess, and add some tape to the back of this. And place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 5. And that will complete the video for today. Make sure you check back tomorrow for the next 5 cards. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.